let's get started. Um, the webinars I've done before this were a little bit easier. It was answering phones and new patient experience and internal marketing and external marketing. This one's a little bit harder. This is a topic that I get asked about all the time. And because every office is different, and because I'm not in office, I don't know the team members that you're dealing with. I don't know your doctor. So it's hard because even at the end of this, I may give you some good ideas and it may not fix your problem. So I'm hoping that I give you enough tips and tricks and that you go back to your team and you work on this with your team, because it isn't fun to have drama and stress in the office. I mean, we spend more time with our dental families than our own family. And if you're waking up on Monday morning dreading going to work, it's more than likely not because of the patients. It's more than likely not because of the insurance companies. You know, it's more than likely we've got some issues going on in the office. And when you start feeling that way, it's time to fix the problem. Okay, so that's really what I'm hoping to help with you guys today, or to give you some ideas. So I want to talk about drama and gossip. Anything that doesn't go towards our goal, which is helping patients get healthy, live a longer and better life, anything that's going against that really isn't productive for the office. So everything that doesn't help the team be productive and put the patient first and doesn't help the practice grow is really drama and gossip. And I think that the reason it happens is little things start getting allowed in the practice. Like I was in a dental office about a year ago and they were whispering, right? Whispering is the number one thing on my list. They were whispering and I asked them, why were they whispering? And they said, because they wanted to transfer patient information without violating HIPAA. So the hygienist would come up, put the patient in the consult room, lean down to the treatment coordinator, whisper what the patient needed so that they weren't violating HIPAA. And then the treatment coordinator would go into the consult room with the patient. Well, first of all, you can transfer information about a patient in a way that you're not violating HIPAA. And whispering, if you think about it, think about when you were back in high school. When 2 or 3 people are whispering and you're standing there and they're not whispering to you, what are you assuming they're talking about? You, right? So whispering is not a great thing to have to happen in your office. Now, what happens is then other whispering happens, and that whispering is this dental assistant against that dental assistant and that hygienist against that. And then now whispering becomes part of the culture. So a lot of these things start small and then they grow. And then if that's allowed, the next thing happens. And if that's allowed, the next thing happens. So when you talk about drama, gossip, problems between the front and the back, this girl against that girl or staff against staff, it starts with these little things, whispering, complaining, tattletelling. God, I feel like I'm back in 5th grade, right? Snapping at each other, eye rolling. That's huge. Somebody tells you to do something and the person leaves and you're like, oh, right? Our nonverbal skills say a lot more than verbally what we say. Huffing and puffing, not talking. You go up and tell somebody to do something and they're like, that starts drama, right? Being rude to one another, being short with one another. Not jumping in to help one another. If you have an employee that always jumps in to help with, the rest of the staff, but there's one employee they never jump in to help with, well, now we've got some drama between these two. Frowning. I tell my staff to smile all the time. And it's funny, with smiling, it makes everybody feel good. But as soon as I see somebody frowning, and sometimes people just have that, I don't want to say what it is, but that face that they don't mean to be frowning, but that's just how their resting face is. But that comes across as something's wrong or you're upset with somebody. So being careful of your facial expressions are important. Slamming instruments. This is a big one. The assistants got the emergency scheduled over lunch because the doctor said put them at lunch. Now they're having to turn over the room while everybody's out eating lunch and they're slamming instruments around. That is a beginning of an issue in the practice. Ignoring others, blaming, and then just straight out drama. Oh my gosh, she showed up to work late today and I'm always on time, and the actual drama. giggling behind people's backs, and bullying. Now, I wrote down here because this sounds a lot like high school. I actually think we could go on the internet and watch the things that we're teaching our teenagers to not allow happen. And we're talking about it in the dental office, and we are adults in the dental office, but these are the things that cause, just froze on that. That was pretty good. That cause the issues to start in the practice. So these little things I think should be reviewed with your team, because when these starts creeping in, that's where the small little issue of she always rolls her eyes at me becomes a bigger issue. And we have to stop it when it's small, okay? You also, as I talk about how to get this out of your practice, out of your culture, you need to review this with your team so they understand that these things play into the problem. And I'm not saying we don't have stressful days. I'm not saying that I don't get short with somebody sometimes, or I don't roll my eyes because I'm like, oh, right? But if you do, you need to circle back around, take responsibility for it, apologize potentially to the person you did it to, and make sure it doesn't become a big issue. Don't sweep it under the rug and just ignore that somebody's doing it, because it's going to continue. So these are just the beginning or ideas of things you should talk with your team about that shouldn't really be allowed in the dental office. One of the things I treat to my team is when you walk into the office, you have like a visual place. Like ours is a gate. So when you walk in through the gate and you're coming into the office, when you walk through that gate, whatever drama, issues, stress you have, you need to leave it outside. And when you walk in, you're walking on stage. And the biggest priority needs to be our patients. And all of these things that you would do on the weekends with your girlfriends of, whispering or gossiping need to go, okay? So you really need to teach your team. One of the things we have is we might potentially have people who've grown up doing these kind of things. And we need to make sure we are catching this with our newer employees or the ones who've been doing this in the past, and let them know it's not okay to do it in our dental office, okay?